easy on the track, boy.
Streetwear, once rooted in subculture movements, has today become a dominant force in the global fashion industry. What started as a niche market associated with skateboarding, graffiti, and hip hop has evolved into a highly influential trend, embraced by luxury designers and mainstream consumers alike. From oversized hoodies and sneakers to graphic tees and baseball caps, streetwear has redefined what fashion can be and how most people dress on a daily basis. It's become more than just a fashion trend. It's now a part of a popular culture movement. From the streets of New York to the runways of Paris, streetwear has cemented its place in the fashion history. Ever wonder how it all started? Who was the first quote-unquote streetwear brand? And how did the genre take over fashion as we know it today? Well, let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the evolution of streetwear, the real story behind all the hype. But before we get started, as usual, don't forget to hit all of the buttons that help us grow as a channel. Also, after the video, don't forget to stop by and show some love to our sponsor, us. At TakeFlight214.com, we offer hundreds of art pieces that any fan of the channel is sure to love. But with all that being said, let's get to it. Streetwear originated in the 80s and 90s, largely influenced by West Coast skate and surf culture and East Coast hip hop and punk rock. Streetwear reflected rebellion, creativity, and a rejection of mainstream fashion norms. Prior to the movement, most guys wore slacks and hard bottoms on a daily basis. I mean, just go back and watch any of the old 70s movies and you'll get a perfect example of what the look of the day was back then. The first brand to officially use the word streetwear was Vision, a brand launched in 1976 out of Southern California. Founded by Brad Dorfman, the Vision streetwear brand as we know it today gained momentum in the early 80s when it expanded into bold graphic t-shirts, sneakers, and apparel that catered to the booming skate and BMX scenes. Other brands like Stussy and Supreme were pioneers of the streetwear movement in their own right, designing clothes that was casual, durable, and accessible at the same time. Stussy, founded by surfer Sean Stussy, was among the first brands to blend surf culture with street style, leading to the rise of graphic tees, snapbacks, and hoodies, and according to many, is widely considered the first ever streetwear brand. Meanwhile, in cities like New York, hip-hop was influencing fashion in their own unique way. Brands like Cross Colors, Walkerwear, and Carl Kanai were founded by entrepreneurs who saw the need for fashion that resonated with this new burgeoning culture that popped up alongside rap music. The 90s was the golden era for hip-hop, and the rise of street fashion as we know it now. Nike signed Jordan and revolutionized sneakers, Run DMC made Adidas iconic, and soon, rap and fashion became inseparable. Visionaries like Damon John of FUBU and April Walker with Walkerwear created clothes for the culture, by the culture, at a time when more established brands and stores didn't really want to take this new thing serious. The brands empowered a generation and brought proto-streetwear into the mainstream. At the same time, another wave was building in New York's skate scene. In 1994, James Jebbia opened Supreme, a skate shop that treated its drops like art installations. With limited releases, underground collabs, and the now famous red box logo, Supreme later turned hype into a business model. But when it all started out, it was just a pure skate brand, designed with core fan base in mind. Throughout the 90s, street fashion blossomed. First, a wave of designers realized there was money to be made in the sector. As I said before, in days past, most clothing stores exclusively sold preppier, more traditional brands. They didn't respect street fashion as a genre and saw it as an illegitimate fad. But after monumental sales by the earlier brands, more and more people began to feel comfortable with this new look. Many of the grandfathers of streetwear came to prominence during this time. The aforementioned Stussy and Supreme became serious players, and the spirit of the movement managed to migrate all the way to the other side of the world, gaining acceptance in Japan. It's weird how things played out considering this was pre-internet times, but guys like Hiroshi Fujiwara and Nigo took the vibe and gave it an Eastern flair. Then came the rapper clothing lines. The first rap group to gain significant motion with their clothing was Wu-Tang Clan. Even though some might say it was naughty by nature with their Naughty Wear brand, but the Woo Wear line was the first to do serious numbers and remained relevant for about a decade after. There was also brands from Outkast, Fat Joe, Snoop Dogg, LL Cool J, Nelly, Lil Wayne, and tons of others. For a few years, it seemed like every rapper with a name had their own clothing line. The rapper clothing line thing turned into an entire era in and of itself. We've covered a few of the lines from back then, but suffice to say, it was a vibe back then. All the rapper-related brands gave more legitimacy to the genre. Some of them gained global notoriety with brands like Rocawear and Sean John. These brands helped show huge clothing retailers that this new thing was here to stay. By the end of the 90s, it was a common occurrence to see street brands in stores like Macy's and Dillard's all over the country. But the biggest boom for the genre came in the mid to late 2000s. This is when streetwear was officially born. People often ask me in the comments why I don't consider brands like FUBU or Cross Colors streetwear. The reason is, at that time, no one called it streetwear. Sure, Vision was the first to coin the term, and Stussy, created in the early 90s, is regarded by many as the first official streetwear brand, but no one called it streetwear until the mid-2000s or so. At the time, brands like Rocawear, Fat Farm, and all the others before it were considered quote-unquote urban fashion, a term that I really hate, which is why I rarely use it, which is a gross disrespect to those brands and what they actually were or what they actually did. But the term streetwear wasn't widely used until the mid-2000s era came in. Billionaire Boys Club was launched by Pharrell Williams and Nigo. BBC was like, BBC. Billionaire Boys Club was like Bape's American cousin, a mixture of luxury, skate, and hip-hop energy. They helped introduce Japanese streetwear aesthetic to the US market, and everyone was wearing all over print clothing all of a sudden. 10 Deep, founded by Scott Sasso, began gaining serious traction in the mid-2000s. Known for its DIY energy, rebellious graphics, and anti-corporate voice, 10 Deep embodied the essence of authentic streetwear. Brands like the Hundreds were not only doing their thing aesthetically, but they were also taking full advantage of the recent internet boom, building an online culture for the movement worldwide. While other brands on the opposite end of the country, like A-Life, were doing similar culture building things the old school way in New York City. Their events were legendary, and anyone privileged enough to have attended still talk about it to this day. The mid-2000s, in my opinion, was the golden era of streetwear. At that time, it seemed more authentic, culture-driven, and in its purest form. Anyone with a bit of creativity and a little ingenuity could start a brand. All you really needed was Photoshop, graphic design ability, and a spot to print your goods at. Back then, it all revolved around tees, hoodies, hats, and various other accessories. I even had my own little brand that gained decent motion regionally. There were websites like Karmaloop and Casbah that you could link up with and move your creations globally. I mean, this was a great time to be alive. As we approached the 2010s, streetwear was unfortunately becoming more and more corporate. The blending of streetwear and high fashion started gradually, but over time it's become the most significant fashion trend in the 21st century. Designers like Virgil Abloh of Off-White and then later Louis Vuitton, and Demna of Vetements and Balenciaga took streetwear's casual aesthetic and infused it with high fashion elements. This resulted in the introduction of items like deconstructed hoodies, oversized jackets, and logo-heavy accessories on the runways of Paris and Milan. In fact, streetwear collaborations have become a lucrative venture for both high-end brands and streetwear labels. One of the most notable partnerships was with Louis Vuitton and Supreme in 2017, which signaled the turn of streetwear from a niche underground thing to a high-end multinational commodity. Branding has always been the core of streetwear, though. Unlike traditional fashion, where their focus was often on designs or craftsmanship, Streetwear has placed an emphasis on logos and often using bold graphics and recognizable symbols to attract attention. Brands like Supreme and Off-White have mastered the art of branding, creating limited edition drops that sell out in minutes and command high resale values. Streetwear's influence can be seen in almost every corner of the fashion world today. From couture to fast fashion, the relaxed, logo-driven aesthetic has become a staple, which in my opinion is a bad thing. In the past, brands were created by people living the culture. They had first-hand experience on what people wanted, and this is what made it feel so special. These days, it's all just more stuff, created by large conglomerates to siphon more money out of our pockets. Although I do like the fact that the genre has finally been able to gain respect from the fashion industry at large, I also feel it was sort of like selling their souls to the devil.
Oh no. According to this here piece of paper, the deal's still on.
But I don't think streetwear as an overall genre will die out anytime soon. If anything, with trends making their way back around as they tend to do, I can see a day where the old school DIY element becomes popular again. After all, there's only so many $200 t-shirts with legacy fashion house names on it or cheap fast fashion logos that one can stomach. It's bound to lose its luster at some point. And when this happens, I can easily see people looking for something elsewhere that has more of a connection, rather in the hands of the corporations or back in the hands of the people. Streetwear will live on long into the future. But what do you think? What was your favorite streetwear era, and do you think it can ever bounce back to its roots? Hit us in the comment section and let us know. Also, if you made it all the way to the end, we hope you already hit the like button. If not, what you waiting for? Liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos is the best way to get the YouTube algorithms to notice us and help us continue to grow. It's actually the only way. Otherwise, they just kind of ignore us and toss us over to the side. And if you want to be updated whenever we drop a new episode, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you can be reminded when each new episode is released. With all that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.